Hey everyone, I'm really glad you're here. I've got a fascinating story to share today, one that's packed with insights that might just make you think a little deeper about life's mysteries. Let's dive into the journey of Avery Brooks, who found himself facing a life-changing moment after a serious car accident led him to a near-death experience. But before we jump in, I want to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? Drop your city in the comments. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to catch more incredible tales like this one. All right, let's embark on this transformative adventure together. So let me introduce myself. I'm Avery Brooks, and I have a story that flipped my life upside down. I'm not a writer or a speaker, nor do I lead any spiritual discussion groups. Just an everyday person who went through something unique and feels compelled to share it. First off, I want to say, I'm not here to convince anyone about anything. Everyone is entitled to their own beliefs, and I fully respect that. You know that feeling when you have a story burning inside you, even if others might shrug it off? Well, that's where I am. For a long while, I kept this story to myself, only sharing it with close family and friends. But now, it feels like the right moment to speak out. Not to prove a point, but in hopes that my experience can offer comfort or inspiration to those who may be facing similar struggles. I've always lived a pretty typical life in Portland. My job as an accountant took place in the heart of downtown Portland. Like most people, I enjoyed time with friends and family, filled with ups and downs. I wouldn't say I was deeply religious or spiritual, though I've always respected the beliefs of others. Honestly, I used to be pretty skeptical about tales of the supernatural. They felt, well, distant from reality. Life went on as usual until that fateful summer night in 1998. If you had told me back then that I was about to have a near-death experience that would completely shift my worldview, I probably would have laughed it off and changed the subject. It's wild how life can surprise us and teach us lessons in unexpected ways. Sometimes, you have to brush against the edge to truly understand the beginning. Reflecting on it now, I see how every moment in my life seemed to lead me right to that pivotal experience, even the most mundane ones. You know, it's funny how ordinary moments can take on a whole new significance after a life-altering experience. That's really what I want to share with you today, the night that reshaped my entire perspective and the incredible journey I went through between two worlds. Let's set the scene. It was a typical summer evening in Portland. A beautiful Friday night where the whole city felt alive. The day had been pretty warm, but by around 9 p.m., a delightful breeze was weaving through the buildings. The streets were bustling with laughter and conversations as everyone was out enjoying the weekend vibe. I was in the car with my buddy Jonas Barrett, heading to a party at a friend's place. I can still remember every detail of that evening. I had just bought a new perfume that afternoon, and its scent lingered in the air. Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls was playing softly on the radio, such a lovely tune. Jonas had just delivered one of his classic jokes about his boring day at work, and I was still chuckling. We were even making weekend plans, considering a little getaway to Boise. Traffic was surprisingly smooth for a Friday. We'd just passed through downtown Portland and were approaching a familiar intersection. I drove through that area daily on my way to work, so nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The light was green, and Jonas was keeping to the speed limit. Just an average drive, right? We often think misfortune happens to others, not us, especially during those routine moments when all feels right with the world. But then, everything shifted in an instant. I can still hear those bus tires screeching on the pavement, the blinding headlights suddenly filling our space as they barreled toward us. It was like time slowed down and sped up all at once. The bus ran the red light. I remember thinking, oh no, there's no way to avoid this. The crash was like an explosion, metal twisted, glass shattered into a million fragments, and the airbag deployed forcefully, hitting my face. The last thing I could make out was Jonas's scream before all went silent. An eerie silence enveloped us, consuming the chaos all around. It's hard to describe that transition from being in the car to what came next. People always ask if it was anything like the movies, if I saw a tunnel or a bright light. Honestly, it wasn't like that at all. It was more like a hard reset, as if someone had flipped a switch. Out of nowhere, everything came to a standstill. All that noise, all the hurt, and the fear simply vanished, leaving behind an overwhelming quiet, like being wrapped in a warm, heavy blanket of silence. Just moments earlier, I had been gripped by unbearable pain, trapped in the car's wreckage. Now, I felt utterly weightless, as if I had transformed into air. That's when it struck me. I was hovering above the chaos of the accident. It was like watching a surreal scene unfold beneath me. Emergency lights flickering red and blue, paramedics rushing about, and a crowd forming around the vehicle. I could see them working quickly to extract what was left of the car. There was my body, being handled with great care, while the paramedics hustled to keep me alive. I noticed Jonas was already being loaded into an ambulance, and amid all this, I could hear every word spoken despite my elevated position. Female, approximately 30 years old, multiple trauma, one paramedic said. Another shouted, pressure dropping. But strangely enough, none of this filled me with dread. It felt as if I was just a viewer in a movie, even though I knew that the person in that car was me. I couldn't help but think of my parents, imagining how distressed they'd be upon hearing the news. I wished I could reassure them that I was okay, that I felt a sense of peace. Then, amidst everything, I sensed I wasn't alone. There was a comforting presence beside me, something I couldn't pinpoint, but its warmth engulfed me. It felt as though someone were whispering to me about a greater plan unfolding. As I continued to observe the scene below, my awareness began to broaden. All those limits I used to know seemed to melt away. Time felt fluid. The past, present, and future swirled together, all existing at once. In that moment, I realized I was being gently steered away from the chaos below, towards something far beyond my understanding. The transition felt effortless, like being swept along by a gentle, inviting current. I could see a light emerging in the distance. But this wasn't an ordinary glow. It wasn't sunlight or the light from a lamp. No, it was entirely unique, alive and pulsating with energy. This light radiated from all around me while also seeming to draw from a specific point ahead. The colors were beyond anything I had ever seen before. There I was, enveloped in a world so vibrant it put anything back on Earth to shame. The colors around me were indescribable, with layers and shades that simply didn't exist in our realm. As I drew nearer, the shapes began to take form. It was a city, yet astonishingly different from any I had encountered. The buildings looked like they were crafted from pure, glowing crystal, radiating light with an ethereal glow. Each structure seemed alive, pulsing and breathing, almost as if the very rules of architecture were rewritten here. What struck me most was an overwhelming sensation of belonging, like I had finally come home after a long, winding journey. All my worries, fears, and anxieties were nowhere to be found. Instead, I was enveloped in an extraordinary peace that felt beyond anything I could have imagined. As I moved deeper into this magnificent realm, something astonishing happened. I realized I didn't need to walk. It was as though my thoughts alone directed my movement. With just a flicker of desire, I would find myself where I wished to be. Here, time and space operated under entirely different principles. Around me, diverse beings flitted about. Some resembled humans, while others appeared as radiant forms of pure light. Each one radiated an encouraging energy, filling me with warmth and acceptance. There was no room for judgment or negativity, just a blissful harmony that resonated in every corner of this luminous place. Suddenly, I sensed a change in the atmosphere. It felt denser, charged with a kind of gravity that hinted at the importance of what was about to unfold. Then, he arrived, not abruptly, but as if he had always been there, patiently waiting for me to recognize him. Describing this being using earthly terms? Nearly impossible. Imagine the most breathtaking artwork you've ever laid eyes on, then multiply that by 1,000, and still it wouldn't do justice. His form was humanoid yet composed entirely of crystalline light, each facet shimmering. His golden hair gleamed with galaxies in motion, each strand appearing to flow like a river of living light, narrating tales of the universe itself. And his eyes, oh those eyes, they were gateways to infinity. When I gazed into them, I could see the rise and fall of stars, the relentless cycle of creation and decay playing out in a cosmic dance. It was a moment unlike any other, deeper than any experience I'd known before. Meeting Jonas was like plunging into an endless sea of wisdom. Each time our eyes met, something new sparked in my mind. I felt the creation of worlds and the swirling dance of galaxies. The very fabric of the universe unfolded before me in dazzling patterns. It was as if he welcomed me without saying a word. Instead of speaking, his thoughts leaped directly into my brain. His essence resonated with a vibration that filled me with pure love, wrapping my entire being in a brilliant glow of understanding. When I attempted to voice my curiosity, I quickly realized there was no need for spoken language. Questions swirled in my thoughts. Where am I? I wondered silently, and in response, I was flooded not just with an answer, but a profound comprehension. I glimpsed a realm existing beyond the limits of time and space, a dimension where love serves as the binding force of the universe. You have many questions, he noted, grinning in a way that brightened the whole atmosphere. And he was right. So many thoughts popped up regarding life, death, and the essence of it all. Why must we suffer? Why do we forget who we are when we come into this world? What's the meaning behind everything? Each question was met with instantaneous clarity, not through words, but direct understanding. It felt like the answers had always been there, just hidden beneath layers that he helped peel away. He revealed that suffering isn't a punishment. It's actually a tool we choose to help us grow. Forgetting our true selves is part of a beautiful journey, one that ultimately gives our lives meaning as we rediscover our essence. As I reflected on my earthly existence and the weight of my regrets, a wave of shame surged through me. Memories of times I'd hurt others, missed chances, and things left unsaid flooded my mind. But as soon as that sting of regret hit, Jonas emitted a deep energy of acceptance that moved me to tears. These weren't tears of grief, but of relief and deep gratitude. There are no mistakes, he conveyed, just opportunities to learn. Every moment, every choice, every joy and sorrow holds a sacred purpose. Then, he allowed me to view my life from a higher vantage point. I saw how each misstep had opened doors to important lessons, how every struggle became a source of compassion, and how I grew stronger through challenges. His presence was nothing short of majestic, as it wrapped me in a comforting embrace of understanding. Standing there, I felt enveloped in a love so profound and unconditional, it seemed as though the entire universe was embracing me. There was no hint of judgment in his presence, only a deep, boundless understanding. It was as if he could perceive every aspect of my being, even those parts I often kept hidden, and he accepted all of it without hesitation. At one moment, I noticed an incredible aura surrounding him, a vibrant energy reaching out infinitely in all directions. Intriguingly, within that light, symbols and patterns emerged, each one revealing wisdom like ancient hieroglyphics composed of living light. They spoke volumes to my consciousness, instantly imparting knowledge the moment I gazed upon them. You still have a lot to absorb, he gently reminded me, adding that there was something significant he wished to show. With a subtle wave, he unveiled what looked like wings made of pure, radiant light. Unlike the angelic wings we might picture in art, these resembled dynamic fields of energy, expanding into intricate geometric forms that were hard for my mind to grasp. Come along, he beckoned, and as we set off, it felt like the space around us was shifting in tandem with our movements. It was curious. Rather than simply traversing through space, it felt as if the very fabric of space itself was adapting to us. As we neared what I could only describe as the universal library, a new, heavier energy began to envelop me, bursting with the promise of profound truths. This place transcended any earthly library. It seemed to stretch without end, with shelves that reached beyond sight, each lined with glowing in a soft golden hue. What astonished me was how, even before unrolling a scroll, I felt the potent energy and rich history radiating from each one. Through an unspoken connection, the angel conveyed that each scroll contained the complete narrative of a soul's journey from its very first incarnation to the very last. These were the akashic records, the vast repository of the universe's history and every soul that has ever existed. When I approached one of the glowing scrolls, a remarkable understanding washed over me. Despite it being devoid of any familiar language, the wisdom flowed directly into my mind, seamlessly bridging the gap between us. As I journeyed through my consciousness, vivid tales of lives lived long before flickered before my eyes. Choices made even before my arrival on Earth began to unravel, revealing invaluable lessons along the way. An angelic guide presented my scroll to me, and it felt like stepping into a dream. In that moment, my entire existence unfolded, not just this life, but all those that came before it. Each struggle, every relationship, and each joy or sorrow took on new significance. It dawned on me that everything had a purpose. Nothing was mere coincidence. Each experience was a chance for growth. What struck me the most was the intricate web connecting all these narratives. I noticed that every scroll was intertwined with others, illuminated by threads of golden light, symbolizing our shared journeys. One small act of kindness, I realized, could ripple outward, influencing untold lives. I grasped the depth of our interconnectedness, a profound insight into the great tapestry of life where each choice and every interaction plays a role. Amidst the shimmering golden scrolls in the vast cosmic library, my angelic guide led me to a section that felt charged with meaning. The very air around us seemed to hum with stories yearning to be told. He paused before one scroll that glowed brighter than the rest, almost in rhythm with my heartbeat. "This is your record," he said, his voice as gentle as a soft breeze. "But it's not just about this life. It encompasses all your pasts, all your decisions, and your purpose." When the scroll unfurled, I felt as though I dove into an ocean of memories. I glimpsed past lives, witnessed choices made prior to my birth, and experienced the very moment my soul chose to manifest during this unique chapter of human history. "Why am I being shown this?" I asked, feeling swamped by all the sensations and stories. With a smile that brightened the entire room, the angel replied, "You need to recognize that your presence here is intentional, Avery. You're part of a remarkable group of souls who opted to incarnate at this pivotal moment." "But I'm just an accountant in Portland. There's nothing extraordinary about my life," I protested, feeling a bit overwhelmed. His expression radiated warmth and understanding. "And that's precisely what makes you, and those like you, truly special. You've chosen to lead lives that may appear ordinary on the surface, but within you lies a unique frequency of love and purpose." As we sat together, a sense of something greater filled the space around us. Avery slid his hand over the old parchment, and suddenly, images began to dance in the air. I caught sight of ordinary folks leading their everyday lives across the globe. "Take a closer look," he urged. I focused more intently, noticing a teacher in a bustling classroom in India, a dedicated nurse tending to patients in Brazil, a gardener tending his blooms in a park in England, and a librarian sifting through books in Russia. "They look like everyday people," I remarked, feeling a bit puzzled. "Now look with the eyes of your soul," Avery prompted. As I shifted my perspective, I gasped. Each individual was enveloped in a vibrant energy field that radiated far beyond their physical presence. This shimmering light affected everyone around them, rippling like gentle waves on a peaceful lake. "You see," he explained, "they are like points of light scattered across the planet. Each one occupies a unique space with a distinct mission. They aren't religious leaders or spiritual gurus. They're ordinary people embodying an extraordinary frequency of love." My mind buzzed with questions. "But why don't we remember all this when we're living our lives?" I asked. Avery nodded thoughtfully. "Forgetting is part of the journey. If you were fully aware of your mission from the start, it could disrupt the flow of your actions. It's your authenticity and genuine humanity that enable this love to spread naturally." As he spoke, memories surfaced. I recalled times when a kind word from me had brightened someone's day, or when a simple smile had kept someone from making a heartbreaking choice. There were moments when my quiet presence had brought comfort to a friend in distress. "Do you see how it works?" Avery prompted. "It's not about grand acts of heroism. It's those little moments of kindness, understanding, and unconditional love that really change the world." I couldn't help but ponder the feeling of not fitting in, that nagging sense that there was something more out there. "What about that?" I questioned. Avery's eyes sparked with wisdom. "That feeling serves as a gentle nudge, guiding you back to your true essence. It's like an internal compass, linking you to your greater purpose, even when your conscious mind might forget." In a breathtaking moment, Avery revealed how these special souls formed an intricate pattern around the earth, an energetic web of light and love designed to keep balance during chaos. Each time you opt for love over fear, each time understanding is chosen instead of judgment, you contribute to this harmony, he said. You know, it's fascinating how choosing kindness can really weave us together. In fact, Avery pointed out that, much like this network we form, it holds more power than any grand act or showy display. But what about those who aren't part of this group? I wondered aloud. Jonas shared that every individual has a vital and special place in the grand tapestry of existence. Some folks spark change even through conflict, while others teach by their mere example. Then there are those who must first learn how to accept love before they can offer it back. He emphasized that these roles aren't ranked. They're just different threads in the same cosmic fabric. As this sank in, a wave of responsibility washed over me. What if I mess this up? What if I can't rise to the occasion? In response, the angel's laughter floated through the air, soothing and melodious. You can't fail, dear one. Just by being yourself, you're already on the path of purpose. The only true failure would be pretending to be someone else. Your authenticity, especially in moments of uncertainty, is your greatest strength. In that instant, the scenery around us morphed, revealing a future filled with limitless potential. Each little act of love radiated out, creating ripples of change that extended further than I could ever envision. Remember this, Jonas advised. You don't have to take on the whole world. Just focus on shining your light in your own little space within the universe. Everything else will fall into place, like a domino chain of love and awareness. Then, the angel revealed something that reshaped my entire perspective on my role in life. Through this silent connection, it dawned on me that I belonged to a group of souls destined to help shift the planet's energy. But here's the kicker. It didn't make me unique or superior. In fact, it was quite the opposite. Each soul, I learned, carries its own significant part to play in the universal plan. Some are meant to lead publicly, while others work quietly in the background. Yet what struck me was how many people, feeling different or out of step since childhood, carry this mission unknowingly. That sense of not quite fitting in often hints at a deeper connection to something greater. Transformation, I realized, doesn't need to be epic or over the top. It thrives in the little moments, the warm smiles, comforting words, and gestures of support. Every one of these small acts, no matter how minor they might seem, adds to the greater good in ways we can't always see. I found myself reflecting on how even the smallest gestures can send ripples of positive energy across the world. It was fascinating, really, like watching a chain reaction of light connecting everyone. One of the most eye-opening realizations I had was that I didn't need to transform my life or reinvent myself to make an impact. There was no requirement for me to leave my job, start a new spiritual revolution, or write bestsellers. What truly mattered was maintaining this expanded awareness and unconditional love in my everyday life. I learned something profound from an angelic presence, the idea that everyone we encounter serves a purpose in our lives. Each interaction, no matter how trivial it may seem, carries significance. Sometimes a simple smile or a kind word can brighten someone's day immensely. Other times, we might be the ones in need of that kindness for our own growth. Despite the overwhelming peace and love enveloping me in that sacred space, it dawned on me that my time there was winding down. The angel, with a warmth that resonated deeply, conveyed that it wasn't time for me to stay. I had responsibilities awaiting me back on Earth. There were people to assist, experiences to embrace, and lessons to learn. Initially, I felt a wave of sadness wash over me. How could I choose to leave such an abundance of love and understanding to return to the complexities of earthly existence? Sensing my reluctance, the angel shared vivid images of my family and friends, those who would still need my newfound compassion and insight. Slowly, the journey back began. I felt a gentle tug, almost like an unseen thread pulling me to my physical form. The serenity I'd experienced started to dissipate, and I became increasingly aware of my body's limitations and weight, as though I was sinking deeper into thick water. Gradually, the vibrant colors and brilliance of that realm faded, making way for the harsh fluorescent lights of the hospital. I started to hear sounds again, first faint whispers, like they were coming from a great distance, then closer as they sharpened into clarity. The voices of doctors and nurses, the rhythmic beeping of machines, and the busy atmosphere of the hospital came alive around me. Pain, too, returned, starting with a gentle discomfort and escalating into something more intense. Yet even the pain felt different. It became part of my journey, a reminder that I was alive and back in this world. When I finally regained consciousness, the first thing that caught my eye was a nurse looking at me with concern. I immediately asked about Jonas. I had to know if my friend was all right. She reassured me that he had made it, but was in critical condition elsewhere in the hospital. The doctors were astonished that we had survived at all, calling it a miracle. Even amidst the overwhelming sense of calm and love surrounding me, I understood my time in that serene place was wrapping up. An angel, radiating warmth and kindness, conveyed to me that it wasn't my moment to stay. There was still so much for me to do on Earth, people I needed to support, experiences I was meant to have, and lessons to learn. Initially, I was flooded with sorrow at the thought of leaving such boundless love and acceptance. It felt so daunting to think about returning to the heavy existence of earthly life. As if sensing my uncertainty, the angel showed me snapshots of my loved ones, my family and friends, along with those who would enter my life, needing the compassion and insights I had gathered from this extraordinary experience. The process of returning unfolded gently. I felt an invisible thread gradually tugging me back toward my physical self. Bit by bit, that profound peace started to fade, and I became aware of the weight and limitations of my body once more. It was like sinking deeper into water that grew increasingly dense around me. The vibrant hues and brilliant light lessened, replaced by the harsh, artificial illumination of the hospital. The sounds returned slowly, first echoing from a distance as if I were listening from afar. Then they grew louder and clearer. I began to recognize the voices of nurses and doctors, the beeping of monitors, and the clamor of activity all around me. Pain crept in too, starting as a dull ache before escalating. Yet, for some reason, even the discomfort felt different now. It became part of the rich tapestry of being alive, of re-entering this realm. Later, as I fully opened my eyes, I was met once again by the nurse's anxious expression. Once more, I called out for Jonas, needing to confirm that he was still with me. She repeated that he was in serious condition but had survived. The reality hit me hard. Such a significant gamble with our lives, but somehow, we were still here. However, recovering physically would be a long and tough journey. 3 months in that hospital lay ahead of me. After 25 years since that unforgettable night in Portland, the memories still feel as fresh as ever. Each detail, every sensation, and understanding is etched clearly in my mind. But my journey didn't just involve navigating the physical challenges that came with multiple fractures and internal injuries. Though those early victories, like wiggling my fingers for the first time or taking a tentative step with assistance, felt monumental, the real battle lay elsewhere. The struggle wasn't only about managing pain or learning to move again. It was about finding my way back to everyday life after peering beyond something so profound. How do you jump back into the routines of the world after catching a glimpse of what lies beyond our physical existence? Explaining my experience to others proved to be an even bigger hurdle. Doctors attempted to simplify it, chalking it up to the brain's reactions during trauma or hallucinations from oxygen deprivation. But deep down, I knew. I held a conviction that transcended any scientific rationale. What I experienced wasn't just a figment of my imagination or a fleeting dream. It was undeniably real, more real than anything I had ever known. People often wonder if I carry a fear of death now. Surprisingly, the answer is no. That experience illuminated for me the truth about death. It isn't a final destination, it's just a transition, akin to moving from one room to another in a vast house. Yes, like anyone, I still grapple with fears and insecurities, but the knowledge that something greater awaits us imbues me with a sense of peace that words can hardly capture. This shift in perspective has deeply altered how I relate to others. I began to recognize every encounter as an opportunity blessed with significance. The insight I gained about our universal connection transformed even the simplest interactions, imbuing them with a special meaning. In the past, I was consumed by worries about money, status, and appearance, But surprisingly, those concerns have diminished in importance. It's not that I've completely rejected material things. I still have bills to pay and everyday responsibilities, of course. Yet my approach has changed completely. I have learned to embrace joy and discover meaning in life's simplest moments. So here I am, all these years later, still reflecting on everything I experienced, cherishing the lessons, the sensations, and the profound shifts in my perspective. I've had a few remarkable spiritual moments in my life, but none have matched the intensity of that very first experience. One of the most unforgettable was this vision I had with Jesus. It took place on a mysterious planet where the sky was painted in a shade of purple that words just can't capture. In that dreamlike state, I saw my future kids, which felt utterly surreal at the time. Doctors had told me motherhood wouldn't be in my cards thanks to some complications from an accident. But life has its quirky way of surprising you. Fast forward, and against all odds, I ended up giving birth to 2 healthy boys. Then, during my second pregnancy, I faced another life-threatening situation. Once again, I encountered that welcoming light and a presence I genuinely believe was Jesus. It was out of pure love for my unborn son that I returned from the brink. After a challenging recovery, I got to witness him grow up strong and full of life. These days, I find myself living what many would call a typical life in Portland. I work, I nurture my family, and like everyone else, I savor the joyful moments while grappling with challenges. Yet, there's something deeper I carry within me. A profound understanding that life is more layered than what we can physically see or grasp. I wouldn't label myself as a traditional religious person, but my spirituality has grown deeply personal. I share this narrative not to sway anyone's beliefs, but rather to extend hope and comfort to those in search of it. If there's one thing I've taken away from everything I've been through, it's that love reigns as the most potent force in our universe. Each of us plays a vital role in a grander scheme, even if the specifics escape us. If you were to ask me what my biggest takeaway is, I would say it's the realization that we're not truly isolated from one another. We are all threads in a vast tapestry, woven together by unseen connections of love and purpose. Every little act of kindness, every moment of understanding, and every sincere gesture of love elevates our collective spirit, nudging us just a bit closer to that profound light I was fortunate to witness on that life-changing night.